Hello Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for To Your Eternity, chapter 157. When we last left our heroes, the Guardian Knocker had kidnapped Fushi. As we found out, it was not to finish Hayase's will or whatever and finally have a child with them, as I assumed it was. It actually just wanted to fight him, once and for all. Which is it feels like a new desire of the Guardian Knocker, but okay. And Fushi agrees if, in the end, the Guardian Knocker, if and when Fushi wins, the Guardian Knocker calls off all of its evil plans. And so this battle begins. Fushi kind of wipes the floor with her. It's not much of a fair fight. The Guardian Knocker initially kind of stretches Mizuha's fingers out Parasite style to trap Fushi, and Fushi gets the fingers wrapped up in this tree that she forms. And then, Fushi spawns a bunch of buildings to sort of contain the Knocker breaks through. Fushi shoots a seemingly explosive arrow at her, but it's not. The gunpowder is damp because it's all a trap, I think. Because Fushi then turns into Upa, the blow dart girl from Jananda, and readies a blow dart. And that's sort of where we leave off. So with that said, let's dive right on in. We pick up right where we left off. There's no title on this first page. We just see Fushi as Upa, readying the blow dart behind the Guardian Knocker. We see, these sort of drops of water from the sewer where they're fighting is falling around them. And it looks like the Knocker is looking at some of the droplets and is using that to see behind her to see Fushi. Because yeah, she spots Fushi with the blow dart, and the blow dart aimed right at her face. Chapter 157, Cleaning Up After Trust, Part 1. And so the Guardian Knocker does not let Fushi get away with that and reaches her arms back and slams her to the ground. But still, something seems to hit the Guardian Knocker, I think. There's a weird thing here. The last panel of the first page, I thought that was just a hyper close-up of the blow dart that Fushi was about to fire. But now it looks almost like a giant bullet that... Or maybe that's the blow dart device, the blow dart shooter, that as the Knocker hits Fushi, falls out of Fushi's hands, I think. Either way, Fushi hits the water, and the Guardian Knocker just starts stomping on her. Why? Why? And then Fushi reforms as, I'm not sure who they are now. I think that's the same archer we saw briefly earlier, at the end of last chapter. But the Guardian Knocker extends her arms out at Fushi. And Fushi is able to block it off with the shield, and now they're the same guy from the one that was helping Chami carry the Guru. I'm still not sure. I still don't remember who this is. Someone from Renril, I think. Gah! And the Guardian Knocker lays into him. Why are you holding back? And we see that I don't think Fushi's been stabbed here, but I think the Knocker has him by the throat. I'm giving it my all. And we see, her arm is now this sort of, it's not the full, knife vibe that Parasite fights had, but it's in that same frame of reference. And Fushi spawns another tree, but the Guardian Knocker is able to get away from that, and questions Fushi, were you influenced by your friend Yuki? I do like that boy. He drank that Knocker-filled water without hesitation, as a display of friendship. Which is the first time I think Fushi is hearing about this. We do see Fushi tries to use the steel ball in the Knocker, but we see her as Mia now, in that look of shock. As the Guardian Knocker confirms that we all kind of assumed that the water was Knocker-infested, and, Yuki's kind of fucked. But this is the first time Fushi's hearing about this. And she just starts spawning more and more steel balls to try to trap Mizuha. Like I kind of pointed out last week, it does seem like that Fushi does not want this fight to end in killing. Her initial plan was the blow dart, and now is sort of trapped in the steel prisons. It's very sort of restrain, not kill. And the guardian knocker goes on, surely you aren't going to tell me this is everything you got! And she throws another punch that Fushi is barely able to block by spawning another one of those chair things from last week. But it looks like actually maybe that punch does go, like it goes through the chair, and I think it also hits Fushi behind it. But Fushi uses that opening to start spawning some tendrils of her own to cover up the guardian knocker. But then, I think the guardian knocker somehow gets away from that. I'm not quite sure what's going on. Like it looks like those tendrils are like the beginnings of the roots of a tree, I think. And somehow the guardian knocker gets away. I'm not quite sure the motion there. And then I think she starts punching Fushi again. This person, like we see someone throwing the punch, and it doesn't like the hair doesn't quite look like Mizuha's. I don't know why. Like maybe the rest of her hair is just behind her, but it looks like it's like, you know, shoulder length and not Mizuha's hair, which goes well to like her mid back. Either way, the knockers are still enjoying the fight. Ha ha ha. But as they've sort of, you know, as the knocker has sort of been focused on Fushi has spawned a steel orb around the tree and the guardian knocker and herself now. Because Fushi then spawns as the same archer from the end of last week, whose name I still don't remember. Now, don't you think this is as good a place as any? And the guardian knocker just like lays into her. Draw your weapon. A bow. A sword. But Fushi tells her, my friend Yuki did influence me, so I don't want to kill you. I thought it would be better if we could reach an understanding while we're both alive. See, getting at the same sorts of points, the same sort of idea I thought that she was going for last week. And the guardian knocker gives this little smile, and then just falls over. And Fushi comes to her and like picks her up. Hey, oh, that's a neat trick. The guardian knocker is starting to steal Fushi's move. Because we see this little tendril snaking from her fingertip going outside the orb, allowing her to get away, the same thing Fushi likes to do. And Fushi respawns outside the orb. She looks around, and the guardian knocker is behind her now. It's not over yet, Fushi. And she skewers Fushi from behind, stealing the form. And Fushi now spawns as Rin. You moved your core? And the guardian knocker just smirks at her. Do you think you can defeat me in that body? Is your heart even in this fight? And Fushi then spawns like a t-shirt and asks her, what about you? You aren't cold in those clothes made of skin? Okay, that's an interesting thing. Like, I thought she was in actual clothes, like the clothes that Mizuha was wearing before she died. I figure the guardian knocker has been in the same outfit, right? Unless Mizuha was wearing weird culty skin clothes. Unless Fushi's referring here to the body of Mizuha as the clothes made of skin, perhaps. I don't know. But the knocker just knocks it away. Ha! Ha! At this point, she's just whacking into Fushi. We can it's a really tiny panel, and we can see in the very corner Fushi just splurting up blood from her chest there. And Fushi just lies there as the guardian knocker looms over her. Do you want to keep going, Fushi? Do you wish to continue proving? And Fushi's Pioran now. Just how useless your idealism really is. So here's a question I never quite understood about the Pioran situation. Because Pioran reincarnates into the horse, right? And I remember it was the whole thing when the horse was first introduced that Fushi had the vibe that the horse was related to Pioran, but he also had lost Pioran's memories at that point, and so he wasn't quite sure why the horse seemed so familiar. When did Fushi get Pioran? Does Pioran's Fae, whatever the Fae, I always forgot how it's pronounced and spelled. How does that being in a different body, does that affect Fushi's... I guess it doesn't affect Fushi's ability to use her form, because there she is. There's Pioran. But also, like, I don't know. It's a thing. But also, it feels significant that Pioran is here. It feels significant that, like, Fushi's become Pioran. And I'm not quite sure what the significance of that is, but it definitely feels like it's significant. I don't know. I'm trying to, bring up what Pioran's big themes were. And a lot of it was, like, you know, I'm remembering her end, right? The part where she's like, where she tells the beholder right before she dies, I don't care what I am, make me something that's useful to Fushi in the end. When, like, you know, reincarnate me, I don't want paradise, I want to be useful to Fushi. And maybe it is that sense of, like, self-sacrifice that's thematically tying Pioran back into this part of the story? Maybe? I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. Because it definitely does not seem random that it's Pioran that Fushi turns to in this line about, do you wish to continue proving just how useless your idealism really is? I don't know. I'm trying to, like, you know, go way back to the beginning, before Pioran sort of came to love Fushi as, like a son figure. I don't know. I'm not quite... I wish... You know, the anime was a whole year ago at this point, but I wish I could just, like, easily dredge up those memories of, like, you know, what thematically is Oima doing with Pioran's form here? Because that's significant. It's very significant, and I imagine it will be a major part of next week's chapter. Why Pioran? Why right now? That seems important. But anyway, let's talk this chapter. Because a lot of it is just a continuation of what we sort of saw last week, this time getting confirmation of what Fushi's goal is here. You know, she specifically lays it on Yuki. Yuki's idealism is why I don't want to kill you. I'm not killing you. Yuki believes we can live in peace, and I want to believe in him. Which ties into the Yuki moments back in 155, or 156 part 1? 156 part 1, I think. About, like, you know, even if it kills me, I will choose to believe. I will choose to have faith. I will choose to believe that peace is an option. And we really are seeing how Yuki has influenced Fushi here. Because Fushi, you know, Fushi's getting their ass whooped all through this chapter. You know, for most of it, she's not even fighting back. Like, as you know, the closest thing we see to anger on Fushi's bit is Mia when she first hears about Yuki drinking the water. But even then, you know, we have that moment of Fushi's rage, but she's still on the kind of capture and negotiate plan. She's still making those steel balls, which almost works in the end, though the Guardian Knocker has worked out alternate solutions. But yeah, like, I don't know, I'm trying to work out where I'm going with all this. God, I had a train of thought there when I was talking about all that stuff. Fushi being intensely, like, defense-based. But I don't know. I imagine all of this is going to tie into where Oima is taking the return of Pioran's face. Because I don't think we've seen Pioran's face in a long, long time. Like, probably not in the present era at all. And the way it's framed as this chapter's cliffhanger feels very important. I'm not quite sure how it will end up being important. What exactly Oima's doing with all that. Doing with Pioran. But, like, she's definitely leading us somewhere with this. Also, here's the thing, I'm not even sure, like, this is going anywhere, but it's interesting to me, Fushi, you know, Fushi's default form is the Nameless Boy, but most of the forms he uses, in general, are male. You know, he'll occasionally dip into, like, you know, Mia or Upa, who are, you know, stuff like that, but, like, it's interesting to me that except for the return of the one body who I just can't remember, every single form that Fushi takes here is a woman. I'm not sure if that's going anywhere thematically either, but it seems interesting. Fushi's not normally in female form this much, and not normally, like, swapping between various women's bodies. I don't know if that means anything at all, but it's an interesting thing to note. I don't know. Like, it might be some sort of, like, vaguely misogynistic, he's not, you know, Fushi's not on the attack, and so he's in a less offensive female form or something, which seems not my favorite rating. Or I don't know, maybe Oima has some larger thing, or maybe it's just a complete coincidence. Maybe I'm noticing patterns where there are none. I don't know. All in all, lots of interesting things here. But yeah, Fushi's on the defense, and it's not going well for her, for the most part. But with Pioran here, with Pioran's face in play, that seems important in a thematic sense, and I'm really excited to see how Oima develops that. So with that said, I'm going to leave this video off here. Hope you'll enjoy the chapter and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe, or, do whatever makes you happy, And as always, your life is your own, okay? Bye!